All right, welcome back. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Christian Mirasanu's BTCM, and we've got some great listener questions to get to.
I love this part. It's always fascinating to hear what's resonating with our listeners and what questions they have.
Okay, so our first question comes from Sarah in Seattle. She asks, if BTCM is all about circulating growth factors, wouldn't there be a risk of promoting unwanted cell growth, like cancer?
That's a really sharp question, Sarah. And it highlights one of the big concerns around growth factors in general. It's true that if growth factor activity gets out of control, it can contribute to the development of cancer.
So how does BTCM address this potential risk? Does Mirasanu talk about that at all?
He does. Mirasanu argues that BTCM, because it's working with the body's natural processes, actually promotes balance and harmony, not unchecked growth. He sees it as a way to kind of fine-tune the body's internal systems rather than overwhelming them.
So instead of just flooding your body with growth factors, it's more like giving it the precise amount needed for healing and repair.
That's a good way to put it. But of course, we can't just take his word for it. Sarah's concern is definitely valid, and it's something that would require a lot more research, especially controlled studies, before we can draw any firm conclusions.
Our next question comes from David in Denver. He writes, this BTCM stuff sounds very esoteric, almost spiritual. Is it even compatible with a scientific worldview?
That's an interesting question, David, and it touches on a common assumption that science and spirituality are somehow at odds with each other.
Yeah, like you have to choose one or the other.
Right. But I think there's actually a lot of overlap between the two. Science aims to understand the natural world through observation and experimentation, while spirituality often focuses on meaning and purpose and our connection to something larger than ourselves.
But they both ultimately come from a place of curiosity and a desire to understand the universe and our place in it.
Exactly. Think about the sense of wonder a scientist feels when they make a groundbreaking discovery. It's not so different from the awe and reverence that people experience in a spiritual context.
So in a way, both science and spirituality are driven by this search for truth, even if they approach it from different angles.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Mhm.
And whether or not BTCM ultimately stands up to scientific scrutiny, it does challenge us to consider a more holistic view of ourselves, recognizing the interconnectedness of our physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
It reminds us that we're not just a bunch of separate parts, but complex beings with a lot of untapped potential.
Absolutely. Okay, we got time for one more question. This one comes from Maria in Miami. She asks, if BTCM actually works, is it something anyone can learn, or do you need special abilities?
That's a great question, Maria, and something that Mirasanu addresses directly.
Yeah, he believes that BTCM is a natural human ability that anyone can develop with the right training and practice. He compares it to learning a new skill, like playing a musical instrument or speaking a new language.
So it's not about having some innate talent or gift, but rather a matter of dedication and effort.
Exactly. He said some people might pick it up more easily than others, just like with any skill. But the potential is there for everyone.
That's encouraging.
Hmm.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Christian Mirasanu's BTCM. We explored the science, the skepticism, the practice, and the potential implications.
And hopefully we've given you a lot to think about and maybe even sparked your own curiosity about the amazing possibilities of the human body and mind.
And we always love hearing from you, so keep the conversation going on our social media channels. Let us know what you thought of this deep dive, what questions you still have, and what other fascinating topics you'd like us to explore.
And remember, whether you're exploring BTCM epigenetics or any other intriguing idea, keep an open mind, stay curious, and never stop learning.
Until next time, happy diving